I cheated on my husband with my younger neighbor, got caught, now my marriage is hanging by a thread, and I'm struggling to win back his love. I'm in a somewhat unique situation, and I wanted to see if anyone else has gone through something similar. I'm by no means the victim here. The victims are my husband, my children, and my parents, who now live with the burden of my past sins, for which I am truly repentant. Let me be frank, 19 months ago, I was caught having an affair with a married neighbor who is also a father of 3. I'm a 32-year-old woman, my husband is 39, and the neighbor in question was 27 at the time. For confidentiality, I'll call the neighbor Steve, my husband Jim, and myself Emmy. As mentioned, I made a terrible mistake by having the affair with Steve, which started a little over 2 years ago. Wait a moment, she said 19 months before all this was when she got caught. So, she was caught 19 months ago, but the affair began a little over 2 years ago. The affair lasted almost 5 months before we were caught. I was physically with Steve only 4 times in total. I know the readers here won't believe that, but I swear it's true. Well, let me tell you something, I don't believe it. Now, to answer questions about my marriage that I know everyone reading this has, did we have problems? Did I not love my husband? Was I unhappy? The answer is a resounding no to all those questions. I was completely happy and satisfied with my marriage, and I love my husband and our 2 children, ages 9 and 11, more than anything in the world. Well, I don't buy it, because if you were totally happy and satisfied, you wouldn't be cheating on your husband. I was totally satisfied emotionally, mentally, and physically with Jim. He was everything I ever dreamed of and more. My misplaced attraction to Steve came from a deep place that took me back to my first romantic encounter when I was 18. It was an animalistic attraction, like my first time in high school. I went out with 4 boys, but nothing serious beyond a quick kiss at the end of the night. In fact, I saw all those boys as friends since we all grew up together. Then, one day, I was invited to a barbecue that a friend's parents were hosting. There, I met Josh, my friend's cousin. From the moment I saw him, I felt attracted to him. At that time, he was 20, and I was 18. From the moment we met, we couldn't take our eyes off each other. I don't know what it was, but there was something between us that pulled me towards him like a magnet to metal. We started talking at the barbecue, and he had to leave for work, so we exchanged numbers. The next day, Sunday, we met for ice cream in the afternoon and took a walk. We talked for hours, completely immersed in each other, and spontaneously started kissing. He invited me to his apartment, and that's where I had my first experience. So, this girl had never been with a guy before. She actually saw all the guys she had dated as just friends, but then she meets this guy who excites her, and in what 36 hours? She's having her first experience with him. See how easy it is when a woman really wants you, guys? It was magical, better than I ever dreamed. Something about Josh just thrilled me and made me want to give him every part of me. To this day, I can't describe it, it was subconscious. I couldn't resist a physical relationship. We had absolutely nothing in common, in fact, we were incompatible. I broke up with Josh 11 months later, after the passion had faded. A year later, I met my now husband. Now, listen to this, listen very closely here, guys. Although sparks didn't fly at first with Jim like they did with Josh, over time, I developed a deep love for Jim that was beyond anything I had ever felt. What this tells you is that Jim, who is now her husband, was not her first choice. You don't want to be in that position with a woman, you want to be her first choice. If not, you'll have potential problems in that marriage, and let's see what happens here. But you can see that the guy who really rocked her world and excited her was this Joshua. It's very likely that Josh wasn't a relationship type guy, or maybe he was a guy who didn't have a bright future. But he was the guy who really drove her crazy. Jim, on the other hand, was more of a good guy, a stable guy, a high income earner. Those are the types of men women want to marry, while Josh is the type of guy they want to be with physically. Jim exceeded all my expectations, and I knew he was the one. We got married a year later, and our marriage had been 13 years of joy until I destroyed it. We were blessed with 2 wonderful children who are the spitting image of their father and have his amazing personality. I've given you all these details because they are relevant to explaining why I started the affair with Steve. Steve and his wife, whom I'll call Marcia, moved into our neighborhood. They were the youngest couple in the development and were quickly welcomed by all the neighbors. Surprisingly, my husband and I are the second youngest couple, with the rest being in their 40s, 50s, and some in their 60s. Steve and Marcia were invited to a neighborhood picnic, and it was there that he and I locked eyes for the first time. It was exactly the same vibe I felt when I first looked at Josh at that family barbecue so long ago. So here's another guy who excites her inside. The next time I crossed paths with Steve was at the dealership where he worked in finance. We were looking for a new SUV, so at the picnic, when my husband found out that Steve worked at the dealership, they started talking. We went the next week to look at cars. Steve made sure the salesman gave us a good deal, and Steve got us excellent financing. During the closing process, Steve and I exchanged glances, but my husband didn't notice. Isn't that terrible? I mean, that's just repulsive. A few days later, I had to take the vehicle back to the dealership to have mud flaps installed, and it was there that Steve and I had our first inappropriate meeting. When he saw me in the waiting room, he came out to greet me. He asked me to come to his office as he had additional financing information to discuss. We sat down, and he brought coffee for both of us, and we started chatting like I did with Joshua, and he blurted out that he wanted to talk to me alone to discuss how he felt about me. He said he felt a vibe and that he saw me looking at him. I told him I felt something too, but that it was wrong. He said he knew it was wrong, but he didn't care, he wanted me. Fast forward to the next morning when we had our first intimate encounter at his house after our kids went to school and our spouses went to work. Oh my god. By the way, Jim has a good job, and Marcia is an LPN, a licensed practical nurse. As I said, Steve and I only had physical relations 4 times during the entire 5 months. There was absolutely no love connection between us since I loved Jim, and Steve loved Marcia. What we had was just physical, and I have to be honest, the physical part wasn't as good as it was with my husband, not even close. But it was forbidden, and therefore exciting and dangerous, I guess. Looking back now, I think being a stay-at-home mom for 11 years made me desperate for the attention I was getting from this younger, attractive man. I simply thought I could have this secret affair for a while and still maintain a loving and fulfilling marriage with my husband. So this woman is the ultimate cake eater, at least she wanted to be. That thought came to an abrupt end one Thursday morning 19 months ago. Now listen to what happens here. That's when Steve and I were caught in bed at his house by Marcia's mother, so this guy's mother-in-law catches them in bed. She walked in while we were fully exposed. You can click on share more to see if there is a part 2.